Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Trump's second presidential term has started and is in full swing. What does that mean for preppers? And what mistakes did a lot of people make last time he was president that we can avoid this time around? Let's get started. So friends, I have been involved in the preparedness industry / community for a long time, really since Obama's first term in office. And I've been making videos online since 2010. So I've seen a few things in my time, as I'm sure many of y'all have. And I noticed a few things the first term that President Trump had that were really good to stock up on that a lot of people didn't. And then they were forced to kind of backpedal and then panic buy supplies later in the beginning of the Biden administration. So I want to share with you some of the things that you can be stocking up on now, and that way you're taking advantage of decent deals. So there are 5 things that I want to share with you is a good time to stock up on, and also to be cognizant of a few things moving forward. So one of the key things to be cognizant of is no matter how much you love President Trump and the things that are going on right now, he's got 4 years. Constitution requires that a president only has 2 terms at a maximum. You can thank FDR for that. President Trump is only going to have 4 years in office, and the first 2 that he's got is with the current Congress the way it is. So I don't know what the state of affairs is going to be 2 years from now, but we need to be thinking ahead and not just with what's right in front of us. So the last time that President Trump was in office, firearms and ammo and anything associated with training was dirt cheap. I'm curious, last time Trump was president, was there anything that you saw in the preparedness world that went up in price or down in price? Let me know in the comments below. Now, one of the reasons for this was because if you remember who his opponent was, this was Hillary. And Hillary, of course, terrified all of the gun owners because they're sitting here thinking, gosh, what is she going to ban? What is she going to try and come after? Blah, 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 blah. I'm a big fan of non-compliance with unjust and tyrannical laws myself. But anyway, a lot of people ended up not buying things, for instance, afterwards. The firearms industry started making a ton of rifles, a ton of pistols and whatnot. And then they had this big glut of supply after the election that they didn't end up selling as much as they thought because Hillary didn't win. And so what ended up happening after that is you could get rifles for a song. Like, you could really get some good deals on things. So I would anticipate that really for the next 2 years, you're probably going to see record deals as far as your capability of purchasing quality weapons and also stocking up on your ammo and using that ammo to train with. And that's the thing, guys. A lot of people will say, oh, well, I only have so much ammo and I only have a stockpile of 10,000 rounds or whatever. And then you ask them if they've ever taken a training class from a qualified instructor, and their answer is no. So from a perspective standpoint, if you've got a decent cushion here of ammunition, better to use your ammunition and resupply with cheaper ammunition. Or, for instance, actualize your gains and use that older ammunition and take a training class with, an appropriate round counts and qualified instructors. So that's a way really that you can actualize gains. Let's also consider general preparedness supplies. Now, some of these are going to be more difficult to come by than others, and a lot of the reason for this is because these are agricultural products or because they come from other places. Now, this is something to consider here with our second point here under the Trump administration. Tariffs may play a role in how cost-effective things are for us to acquire. So, for instance, when it comes to the foods that you want to store, the foods that you're buying regularly, we need to make sure that we're paying attention as to where these things come from. More now than ever, I'm reading labels as to where things are made from or where things are a product of. For instance, like prunes or some of these other colder weather stone fruits, a lot of these are coming from Canada. And so that may be a product that is influenced by these tariffs. So foods are number 2. The third is technology and electronics. So again, this is something to consider when it comes to tariffs. They are coming from China and they are cheap, in quotes, they are cheap because of certain loopholes, like for instance, things that are coming off of Temu or fast fashion, things like that. There's a lot of loopholes for lower dollar amount items that are coming through sales online. But these loopholes in customs effectively are probably going to end up being closed up. Another thing is, if there is actually tariffs placed on China, this is going to impact, for instance, potentially your solar cells and also your chargings. Anything associated with solar power may indeed become more expensive. Another thing to consider regarding technology is a lot of radios and communication equipment that also comes from China. So there is a chance that it's going to become more affected by those tariffs. So now would be a good time to purchase them if you're considering that. The fourth thing to consider is medical supplies and medical equipment. Now, again, I'm obviously somewhat self-serving in this because we have an awesome medical kit for sale on the website, which you should totally check out. However, when it comes to the products that are on the market in medical sales and also in general bandage supplies, etc., a lot of these things come from China, friends. Whether it's bandages or even some pharmaceuticals, a lot of them come from China. So if this is in your supply line, again, it behooves you to take advantage of quality material prices now before potential hits of tariffs. Number 5 is the herbs and the alternative supplements world. Now, there's a chance, as it sits right now, RFK is waiting to be confirmed. We'll see whether or not this goes through. But there's a chance that there's going to be a big overhaul and a flux in regards to the pharmaceutical industry, and really with the regulation when it comes to what the federal government, the oversight, and really the tyrannical position that they've taken against herbalists and against people who manufacture and sell herbal products. And so it's possible that there's going to be a big flux and somewhat of a wiggle room, and we don't really know how a lot of these things are going to shake out. But one thing is 100% true, which I could attest to personally, that the cost for herbs has really gone up, not just because of inflation, but also because of market factors secondary to COVID. And I was speaking actually to our supplier, and our supplier for our herbs on the website, thepatriotnurse.com. He was telling me when it comes particularly to the wildcrafted things that they source, a lot of people were incentivized to stay home when it came to the COVID payments. So people who normally were going out and acquiring and wildcrafting different herbs, they didn't do it anymore because it paid more to stay home and collect checks. And so because of that, there was a supply shock in the herbal industry and in effectively the natural supplements industry because of that supply shock secondarily. Because you're looking at, with the herbs, you're looking at the bulk herbs in their single form, but also you're looking at, for instance, like capsules that have 4 or 5 different herbs in them. And each one of those is going to be affected if one of them, the herbs in the mixture, is more difficult to find or harder to come by. Price is going to be expensive. One of the biggest challenges right now for a lot of people to get is golden seal. Golden seal is very expensive, and several other herbs are in that mix, mainly because of the existing supply shock that's happened. Now, the question is, what is the effect? What is the RFK effect, the MAHA effect of the regulation that may be changed or not over the next few years? I don't know. But what I do know is I would much rather be working with the herbs as opposed to the pharmaceuticals anyway. And if I'm looking long term, I want to make sure that I have the necessary tools in my toolbox from a healthcare and support standpoint. And that's one of the reasons why, A, I have my own large collection and supply of herbs at home. But also, this is one of the reasons why we sell bulk herbs at the website, thepatriotnurse.com. Because it can be very challenging not only to find these herbs, but also to find good quality herbs that you can trust and at an affordable price. And so that's what we try and offer you at the website, thepatriotnurse.com. So friends, I hope you're benefited from this. I have included in this list some of the things that I think would be helpful, and honestly, the advice that I'm giving you is what I'm taking myself, because when it comes right down to the things that I know that I'm going to use and that I want to make sure I have plenty of on hand, always going to want to have ammo because you always need to keep your edge sharp. Got to train. 2, got to have quality rifles, quality parts, quality part replacement parts, for instance, for your handguns. If you do a lot of shooting, these parts do wear out. And so you want to make sure that your equipment is in good and working order. So not just with the actual handguns and rifles and ammo, but also with spare parts as well. And then food, of course, is always going to be something to consider. Technology, of course, medical supplies, and the herbs. Friends, if you found this video helpful, please share it with one person who you know would be benefited from it. Also, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to keep seeing more, then you can click the subscribe button. It's totally free. It doesn't cost you a thing. And you can even click the bell button so that way you make sure to hear from me whenever I put a new video out. I hope the video was helpful for y'all. I hope you have a very, very blessed week. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later. Mwah! Bye.